It is very important, particularly for the top 50 potential givers, to have a one-to-one in-person appointment set up and an in-person solicitation for us to achieve our goals. And I have to say that this is an area that many schools take shortcuts. They do it by telephone, they do it by letter, they do it by email. That does not suffice, particularly in the times that we live in, where every dollar is important, because you're just going to get a bigger gift when you make an in-person connection. Layered. What do I mean by layered? What I mean is we take components of an annual campaign and we layer them on top of each other. The base of the annual campaign is what I will call the in-person solicitation for a gift to support the gap between tuition and the operating budget of the school. In almost every school, there's a gap between what we charge and what it costs us. So we need a basic annual campaign, not tied to a dinner, not tied to an ad book, where you have an expectation that every year the school is going to be asking you to help make up this difference between tuition and cost. And that's the base of every annual campaign. We don't have to wait for the dinner to do that. We don't have to wait for the ad book. We do it at the beginning of the year. Then we layer on top that events, right? So we run events, and the purpose of the events is to bring in money that would not be gotten from the basic school community, which we're approaching for that difference between tuition and cost. So we look for honorees who have friends and business associates from outside the school, and we honor them, or we honor causes that are going to bring in money outside the school community. We don't rely on events to tap into the sources of support that the school already has. There's another category called designated gifts. These are gifts for particular topics or subjects like sports, math and science, or Hebrew language, or Chumash, Judaic studies, that cause people who wouldn't normally give to cover the gap between tuition and the cost of educating a student, but might be interested in a particular cause and might give a significant amount of money for that cause, which helps defray our operating budget. And finally, there's plan giving, right, which is another layer. And that's a product designed for people who maybe can't write a check today, but could put the school in a bequest, or could pay up a life insurance policy, or are looking for tax advantage ways to give. This is another layer that reaches perhaps grandparents, again, who can't write a check today, but want to support the school in another way. And finally, there's accountability. What do I mean by accountability? What I mean is there needs to be a development committee that basically takes ownership of the giving for the categories of givers. So there's a parent's chair for the development committee, a grandparent chair for the development committee, an alumni chair for the development committee, an alumni parent chair, etc., who will take ownership of the goals for that particular constituency. There's a dinner chair, and basically run a little profit center and be accountable for bringing in the money that, when you add it all up, allows the school to make or exceed its targets. And that's what I mean by accountability. I mean real ownership by people on the board or other lay leaders. So in summary, the ultimate annual campaign has a lot of aspects to it. It has a pacing as you move through the year, starting with the board, giving first. It has a quantitative nature with concrete goals for each person or type of person. It is comprehensive. It covers every constituency that's conceivable and leaves nobody untouched. It is personal. It's people giving to people in nature. Join me in giving. I've given, I'd like you to join me. It is layered because it has a base for the giving between the difference between tuition and cost, and then it layers events, it layers designated gifts, it layers planned gifts. And finally, it has accountability. There are specific individuals you can look at and say, how is it going in terms of the goals we set? How can we help you? But at the end of the day, they are living and sleeping the attainment of those goals. And when you put all this together, you will have the ultimate annual campaign. And this will be a major weapon in your arsenal of your school to deal with school affordability challenges. Thank you very much.